Starting with good quality dough is a requirement for any great pizza, homemade or commercial. It may seem difficult the first time or two, but once you get the feel of it, making yeast doughs is actually quite easy. There are a couple of little tricks to make an especially good pizza dough, and I'm going to point those out during the course of this video, and you'll have the best results ever.
I begin with 200 milliliters of fairly hot water. We're going to dilute this with 100 milliliters of milk, which is out of the refrigerator, and this will help cool it off. This, we're going to add a teaspoon of sugar. Now, this should be warm at this point. It should be above the body temperature, but not super hot. If it's too hot, you'll just kill the yeast. If it's too cold, the yeast won't really thrive. So you want it to be warm. It should feel warm to the touch. I'm using live yeast here, as I suggest you do too. Live yeast makes for a much better product. I don't care what anybody else tells you about how the freeze-dried stuff is just as good. Baloney. It is not just as good. Live yeast is what you always want to work with. Okay, I'm smearing it around a little bit here to get it to dissolve. There's still going to be a little bit of lumps of yeast in there, but that's okay. When it's mixed together in the end, it's going to work. So I've got the milk, water, sugar in here. It's warm. We're going to leave it to stand and let it proof. After 10 or 15 minutes, this is what you want to see. All right. Now, to this, we're going to add about 2/3 of the flour, the salt, the olive oil. Now we'll move it to the mixer. And after it's mixed for, I don't know, a minute or so, you're going to have to take a spatula, scrape the extra flour down from the sides. Now, at this point, you have something that's still quite liquidy. It's what's called a sponge at this point. All right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover this with a damp towel, and we're going to let it rise for a little bit before we continue. After about 30 minutes or so, you'll see this is swollen up quite a lot. It's quite gloopy now. That's good. Now just back onto the mixer with more flour. Okay, you can see it will gather into a ball here within a couple of minutes. No, less than a couple of minutes, about 60 seconds actually. After a couple of minutes, hopefully you'll end up with something that looks like this. You can see that the dough hook is actually working its way through the dough. This is a difficult stage to achieve. It's a difficult balance because you want the dough hook to work its way through it. If there's too much flour, then it just spins around. If there's not enough, then it sticks to the hook too. So you have to get just the right balance here. Periodically here, you can turn it off. Take it off the hook like this, and start it back up again. Just make sure it's not just spinning around and not doing anything. You can increase the speed a little bit to help throw it off of the hook and get it to combine better if you need to. Your task here is to make sure that this dough is actually being kneaded. It's not just spinning around on the dough hook. And after about 8 or 10 minutes, you've got something that's nice texture. It's all ready. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in here. Toss it around. Put a damp towel over it and let it rise. After an hour, you get something that looks like this. Now, You punch it down, and you punch it down, and you can use it right now if you need to, but you're better off refrigerating this, leaving it in a container that's just a little bit open so that it has room to expand. Don't put it in the refrigerator completely sealed, or it'll burst the container because it's still growing, still exuding gases. Put it into a container that's loosely covered or loosely sealed and let it rest to the next day for the best results. You can use it today if you want to.
If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link. If you like my videos, look for my cookbook, now available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other internet bookseller sites. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.